What if you were mistaken for someone else? What if your fate depended on a forgotten letter written in a dark prison cell decades ago? What if the person who loved you most was willing to die in your place? This isn't fiction. It's sacrifice. It's revolution. It's the ultimate twist of fate. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. This is more than just a novel. It's a powerful tale of revolution, resurrection, sacrifice, and love, set between two cities, Paris and London, during one of the most turbulent times in history. Meet Charles Darnay, Sydney Carton, and Lucy Manette, three lives entangled in a gripping story of redemption and purpose during the French Revolution. Welcome to the world of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Chapter 1. Shadows of the Past. The year is 1775. Europe is restless. In England, fear simmers beneath the surface. Fear of crime, of unrest, of change. In France, the fear has boiled over. Hunger stalks the streets. The poor suffer while the aristocracy feasts. Revolution brews like a storm on the horizon. In the midst of this turbulence, a quiet mission begins. Jarvis Lorry, a respected banker at Tellson's Bank in London, receives a mysterious message, recalled to life. It is a code. A man thought long dead, Dr. Alexander Manette, has been found alive in France. Dr. Manette had vanished into the dark walls of the Bastille 18 years earlier, leaving behind only mystery. Now he has been released. But the years of isolation have taken their toll. His mind is shattered, his identity buried beneath silence and sorrow. Lorry is not alone in his mission. He is joined by Lucy Manette, the doctor's daughter. Blonde, gentle, and barely grown, she had lived all her life believing her father was dead. Now she travels with trembling hope to meet the ghost of her past. In a garret above a wine shop in the village of Saint Antoine, they find him. He is hunched, gaunt, with long white hair and haunted eyes. He does not recognize them. He does not know himself. His fingers are busy shaping leather into shoes, his mind lost in a prison-made habit. In that tiny room, surrounded by cobwebs of memory, Lucy kneels before him. With tender voice and trembling hands, she reaches for the father she never knew. And something begins to change. Her love is patient. Her voice, a gentle echo that stirs the remnants of a soul. Day by day, thread by thread, she weaves him back to life. The shoes are forgotten. The eyes clear. The silence breaks. Together, father and daughter return to London. Not to forget the past, but to begin again. Chapter 2. The Echoes of Revolution. This chapter shifts the narrative to 1780, 5 years after Dr. Manette's return to London. It opens in a London courtroom where Charles Darnay, a noble Frenchman living in England, is on trial for treason. The charge, leaking British secrets to France. The tension is thick, but his resemblance to another man, Sydney Carton, helps his case. Carton cleverly uses this similarity to create reasonable doubt, securing Darnay's acquittal. Both Darnay and Carton are drawn to Lucy Manette, the gentle and compassionate daughter of Dr. Manette. Darnay, noble and sincere, eventually wins Lucy's heart and marries her. Carton, however, is deeply broken, a brilliant mind dulled by self-loathing and alcohol. Though he loves Lucy deeply, he accepts he is unworthy of her. He vows to love her from afar and protect her happiness, no matter what. Meanwhile, in Paris, unrest simmers. The poor are starving, and rage is building. Ernest and Madame Defarge, secret revolutionaries, operate a wine shop that doubles as a hub for radical plans. Madame Defarge, cold and unrelenting, knits the names of her enemies into her yarn, symbolically and literally preparing their fate. This chapter sets the stage for rising tensions between personal love and political turmoil, introducing the characters whose lives will soon be engulfed by revolution. Chapter 3. Storm breaks. The year is 1789. The people of Paris have had enough. On July 14th, a mob storms the Bastille, the dark fortress that had long symbolized royal tyranny. The prison falls, and with it, the old order begins to crumble. Crowds chant for liberty, equality, and justice. But justice quickly turns to vengeance. The streets fill with the cries of the oppressed, and the cobblestones run red. The guillotine rises as the new symbol of the people's fury. Nobles are arrested. Trials are swift. Executions are many. Far from this chaos, in peaceful London, Charles Darnay lives quietly with Lucy and their young daughter. He tries to leave his past behind, especially his ties to the cruel Evrémonde family. But the past will not let go. A letter arrives. It is a plea from Gabelle, a loyal servant of the Darnay estate in France. He has been imprisoned by the revolutionaries for serving the aristocracy. Guilt and duty stir in Darnay's heart. Though warned, he makes a fateful decision. He must go to Paris to help. Without telling Lucy, Darnay leaves for France, hoping that his good name and kind heart will shield him. But he is wrong. Upon arrival, he is arrested. Declared an emigrant and enemy of the people, Charles Darnay is thrown into law force, a prison of shadows and despair. His fate now lies in the hands of a revolution that shows no mercy. Chapter 4: Sacrifice and Redemption. Paris trembles under the shadow of the guillotine. The air is thick with fear and smoke. But in this city of revolution, a quiet act of courage begins. Lucy Manette, her father Dr. Alexander Manette, and the ever-faithful Mr. Lorry arrive in Paris. They come not as citizens of France, but as a family fighting to save the man they love, Charles Darnay. Dr. Manette, once broken by the Bastille, now walks with purpose. He knows this world of terror. He once lived in its dungeons. And that suffering gives him power. The revolutionaries see him not as an enemy, but as a symbol of their struggle. He pleads for his son-in-law, and they listen. Charles Darnay is brought before the tribunal. He speaks with dignity. Dr. Manette's testimony moves the court. Against all odds, Darnay is acquitted. For a brief, fragile moment, it seems they've won. But Paris is not a city of mercy. The very next day, new charges emerge. A forgotten letter, written long ago by Dr. Manette in the solitude of his prison cell, has resurfaced. It speaks of the Evrémonde brothers, Charles Darnay's father and uncle. It tells of their crimes, the abuse of a peasant girl and the brutal murder of her brother. Crimes so cruel, they shattered Manette's mind. Though Darnay is innocent of those acts, the revolution does not care for innocence. In Paris, bloodlines are guilt, and Darnay bears the name Evrémonde. He is condemned once again, this time to die. Behind this cruel twist stands a woman, Madame Defarge. She is more than a revolutionary. She is the last survivor of the peasant family destroyed by the Evrémondes. Her thirst for revenge is unrelenting. Darnay's death is not enough for her. She wants Lucy. She wants the child. She wants to wipe out the family line completely. Hatred has become her purpose, and her vengeance is now the law. As the city prepares for another execution, hope flickers and fades. But the story is not over. For in the shadows, Sydney Carton is watching. And his hour has come. Chapter 5: The Greatest Sacrifice. As the noose tightens around Charles Darnay, a familiar shadow reappears in the streets of Paris, Sydney Carton. He has come quietly, unnoticed, but with purpose burning in his heart. Haunted for years by wasted potential and unspoken love, Carton now sees a path to redemption, a chance to give his life meaning. Carton visits Darnay in prison. The two men stand face to face, mirrors of one another. Their resemblance, once a curiosity in a courtroom, is now the key to a daring plan. Carton drugs Darnay and switches clothes with him. With the help of sympathetic jailers and allies, Darnay is smuggled out. Lucy, her daughter, Dr. Manette, and Darnay flee Paris as the guillotine's shadow grows longer. Carton stays behind. He takes Darnay's place, unnoticed by the jailers, unnoticed by the crowd. In those final hours, Carton walks the prison corridors with peace in his heart. He speaks softly to a frightened seamstress awaiting execution, offering comfort. She clings to him, thinking he is a nobleman, never knowing the truth. As he approaches the scaffold, his thoughts are clear. He sees Lucy's face. He imagines a future for her child, safe, free, alive. He steps forward without fear. His final thought is not for himself, but for those he loves. He dies not as Sydney Carton the drunkard, the lost soul, but as Sydney Carton, the savior. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. And with that, he finds peace, in sacrifice, in love, and in the life he gave for another. Conclusion. A Tale of Two Cities is a story of resurrection, of lives broken and restored, of hate turned to love, of selfishness turned to sacrifice. Dickens reminds us that even in the darkest times, there is hope, and in the shadow of the guillotine, there is still grace. The tale ends not in despair, but with the ultimate gift, one man's quiet, noble sacrifice.